And welcome to the meeting of the Merrillville Town Council for today, Tuesday, February 14th, 2023 at 6:30, and happy Valentine's Day to everyone. So, please stand for our invocation and remain standing for a moment of silence afterwards.
Let's pray. Oh God, our Father, we come to you this evening, again seeking wisdom and knowledge and guidance and direction. We say thank you, Lord, for blessing this community, for bringing jobs, for bringing people, for bringing family strength and guidance. And Father, our prayers continue to be for the growth and the improvement of life in this town. Father, for families to grow, kids to be happy and strong. Father, we thank you and pray for, again, your guidance and your power to be in our lives and upon those who make the decisions guiding this community this evening. Thank you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Commissioner Ward, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk Treasurer, would you call the roll, please?
Sure. Councilman Spann? Councilman Hardaway?
Here.
Councilman Minchuk?
Yes.
Councilwoman Uzelak? Here. Councilman Pettit?
Here.
Councilman White?
Here.
Councilman Bella?
Here.
6 present.
Thank you. Moving on tonight to the consent agenda, we have the accounts payable register voucher for February 14th and the approval of the town council meeting minutes from the January 24th meeting.
I move to approve, Mr. President.
A motion by Mr. White,
Second.
second by Mrs. Uzelak for approval of the consent agenda as submitted. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Moving on tonight to the standing and special committees, Budget and Finance, Mr. Hardaway.
No report, Mr. President.
Thank you. Council Affairs, Mr. Pettit.
Yes, Mr. President, we had a Council Affairs Committee meeting last week, and there are several, I believe, Mr. Svetnoff, 9 total first reading ordinances that we addressed.
Actually, 7.
Seven first reading ordinances that the committee recommends. So we'll deal with that at that point, Mr. President.
Thank you. Public Works and Utilities, Mr. Minchuk.
So far, the weather's been good. The boys have been keeping busy with their projects. I haven't had a chance to talk to everybody from the council yet, but I will be addressing everybody as soon as I can. The Parks Department is going to be looking into getting radio communications between all their vehicles and their home base to make things more efficient at the street department, as we're going to start referring it to.
Public Works.
And we will go from there once we get some kind of numbers and what we need, what we don't need. Steve has found the money within his budget to go ahead and cover the cost of these, but we'll go ahead and discuss that further at a later meeting. He has been working with the fire department. They've been kind of setting them in the right direction of what to get, what not to get, what to do, and what not to do.
That was good.
I'll report back as soon as I have something, sir.
Thank you. Elections, Public Relations, and Town Beautifications, Chairman, Mr. Pettit.
Yes, Mr. President, I have 2 items, both related to the Crossroads Regional Chamber of Commerce. As you folks know, I'm on the Board of Directors. The first event is going to be March 9th, is the third annual Business Excellence Awards. We have sponsored, and the town has sponsored an award. They have almost 125 people registered at the Dean and Barbara White Center from 5 to 7 on Thursday, March 9th, and we will be honoring a variety of different businesses here in the town of Merrillville. Secondly, we are going through a branding initiative with the Crossroads Regional Chamber, and I want to invite, and I think Pat stepped out, I'll have to remind him, I told Deanne to put it on our website as well as the City of Crown Point's website. There is a branding event at the Hard Rock Casino on April 12th from 4:30 to 7:30, and there will be a lot of people there. It is in the actual hall where the concerts are. This is not a side room, and they have invited probably close to 500 people. So all the council are invited, department heads, any Merrillville residents, but you do have to register. You just can't walk in there the day of, and it is free, but they want to know who's coming. So when Pat gets back, or I'll talk to Pat later and get that up on our website. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you. Environmental Affairs, Mr. White.
Yes, Mr. President, I'd like to talk briefly about the COVID-19 status in Lake County. Currently, our level is still at medium. Hospitalizations haven't increased by approximately 1%, and I think it was a couple of mortalities at a nursing home. So pretty much we're still at a medium level. I'm still saying don't let our guards down because it's a tricky virus and it might morph into something else. So that's my CDC. If Marge want to add anything to it.
Booster shots, the second booster shot is still being given out at different drugstores, CVS and Walgreens Pharmacy. So if people didn't get their booster shot, their second one, they can go there and register for one, which is very beneficial with this COVID coming back again. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Personnel Policy and Employee Benefits, Mr. Hardaway.
Thank you, Mr. President. There's been some changes made in our code enforcement and animal control. We have expanded the code enforcement by one employee, and we're in the process of looking for a animal control person effective as soon as, get with Mrs. Pettit, and you guys come up with a job description, and let's get this thing advertised, 14 days in the town, and then we'll go from there. But our current animal control person has been permanently assigned to code enforcement, and so she started those duties on yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. So that concludes my report.
Thank you. Public Safety, Mr. Minchuk.
The only thing I have at this time is I know at the last meeting, excuse me, I reported that the contract negotiations with the FOP have pretty much come to an end at the table. Our attorney has go ahead and finished up all the verbiage on his end of that, has been turned over to the FOP, who are sitting with their labor council reviewing it now to make sure if there's any corrections or anything like that. I'm hoping, the next meeting we can have a signing. If not, I'll let you know.
Okay, Joe, do you concur that it can get done for the next meeting, or is that tight?
Depends on.
It depends
yeah.
on what substantive changes, if any, the FOP council comes back with, so.
Let's let's go ahead and tentatively schedule it for the next meeting. If not, I'll call you and let you know.
Okay. All right. Economic Development, Mr. Pettit.
Sorry, Mr. President.
It's all right.
No report.
Parks and Recreations, Mrs. Uzelak.
I had a call from a person by the name of Jamie from the community center, and he wants to meet with me and my committee. So are you familiar with Jamie?
Yes.
Who is it?
Jamie is Barb's assistant.
Okay, well, I didn't know who he was, and
It's a woman.
The woman.
it's a woman?
It's a
Oh,
female.
well, oh, okay, I'm very sorry. He sounded
That's
like
okay.
a guy, but she did. Well, anyway, I didn't have a chance to get back with her, and I told her I would call her back. But she is calling on behalf of Torrance, is what I'm asking. Sean?
I don't know. This is news to me, Margie.
Okay. Well, I'll have to find out before I set up any committee. And on that committee is Don Span, me, and Leonard White.
That's correct.
Okay, so we'll see where we will go with it after I talk to Jamie then.
Okay.
Thank you.
Abandoned and Blighted Properties, Mr. Hardaway.
No report at this time.
Dean and Barbara White Community Center, Mr. Pettit.
Yes, Mr. President. On the calendar, we've been setting up the meetings for the fourth Thursday of the month. However, this month, we have the Black History Month celebration dinner. So I will cancel that meeting. Pat, if you put that on, check with Linda, make sure Linda gets it out to everybody. That meeting is canceled for the 23rd because we will all be at the dinner. And we will, I'll talk to Torrance and Trista and get together in March. We may just, Jeff and Leonard, if you don't mind, we may just go back to the third or the fourth Thursday in March and just wait for that meeting.
Whatever works.
All right, that's all.
Mr. President, this question is for Sean. Actually, I was at an event at the Dean and Barbara White this past weekend. It was a really nice event, but two things happened. The electric went out while they were playing in their band. So I think I just ran to the back where I know the breakers were, and one of the breakers were tripped, but it did. I turned that one on, but it did trip again. So I just want to bring that to Torrance since he's not here, or
Okay.
Mr. President.
I see Pat writing frantically in his notebook, so I'm sure that's going to be addressed first thing in the
Yeah,
morning.
yeah. I mean, they were pretty good at, just keeping it going, even though half of the sound system went out. But I just wanted to make sure, I don't know if they were pulling too much power. They were popping so hard, for my lack of a better description. They were, so it pulled a lot of power. So,
Well, thanks for bringing it up.
okay, thank you.
Moving on to special projects.
Thank you, Mr.
Mr. Hardaway.
As everyone knows, next Thursday night, 5 to 9, is our Black History Dinner at Dean and Barbara White, Mike Anderson Event Center. And currently, we have suspended ticket sales because we've reached our capacity. And if anyone is interested, they'll have to get on the waiting list. So that means that we have sold over 350 tickets, or we have 350 promises. So right now, no more have been sold or distributed, and we're just waiting until next couple of days. We'll have a final number as to if we're going to be able to release any tickets. But for right now, anyone that has not purchased a ticket, sad to say that right now it's maybe too late to attend the event. But I'd like to thank the community and the town officials for the support that they've shown in this thing, because it was an effort put forth by especially town administration, Mrs. Shine, and Mr. Bella, and everybody else that's sitting up here to make this thing what it is. And we're looking for a great time next Thursday night. On May the 9th, we're going to have our Municipal Day. We've already spoken to the principal at MIS, and so she is excited about it. And so we're going to do that on May the 9th.
Richard, would you explain that, please, for the audience? Because some people may not even know what that is.
Well, Municipal Day is a time where we bring in middle school students, and they take our place, and they sit up here at the dais, and they conduct a meeting while we sit behind them and kind of coach them a little bit. It's been very successful. We had a great one last year, and the only difference in last year and this year is, according to the principal, she's got some kids that went to Pierce this year in 7th grade. And so with those kids now, we're going to pick a couple of those kids. One's going to be the president, one's going to be the vice president, the 7th graders. And so we're trying to expand this to not only MIS, but also now to expand it to Pierce too. So it's a great event. Everybody's excited about that. Also, next Friday, after we finish Black History Dinner, then the following Monday, we will start concentrating on Juneteenth, because Juneteenth will be right around the corner at that time. So we'll be looking for some volunteers to help us get that started and get that completed. So those are the next three things. Black History Dinner next Thursday night from 5 to 9. Municipal Day on the 9th, and then Juneteenth is coming up. That'll be June the 17th at this particular time. That concludes my report. Well, one more thing, because you didn't mention Boys and Girls Club, but I will. Boys and Girls Club next Thursday night, same night as our dinner, they're having their Youth of the Year award. And I've been selected as one of the judges, so I will be judging for the Youth of the Year. So I'm looking for a good time there and to go through and see what these young people have on their minds. I'm excited about it because I think it's something that's different.
Very good.
That concludes my report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Hardaway. Moving on tonight to the Lake County Solid Waste Management District. Our representative is Mr. White.
Thank you, Mr. President. Unfortunately, I was not at the last council meeting, wasn't able to announce the officers that were elected to lead the solid waste district. It was again Mr. Rick Long from Lake Station, I believe it is, and it's Ms. Christine Sid, the Lake County councilwoman. They are now the chair and chairman. Additionally, I think I had this actual question for Pat in the terms of the report, because we're getting ready to try to release recycling grants. So I just want to make sure that report is up to date so we can get that, make sure Merrillville will get the dollars that they, and you will eventually get the dollars, but we won't get it until we get those reports. So that's the end of my report, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you. Moving on tonight to the Northern Indiana Regional Planning Commission, and before I call on Mr. Hardaway, he wasn't here at the last meeting because he was actually on a trip with this commission to Washington, D.C., but Mr. Hardaway has been appointed as the chairman of the board for NERC, and I want to congratulate you on your appointment and wish you luck this year as you lead all those different cities and towns on the board. So thank you for representing us well.
Thank you, Mr. President. Appreciate it. And no report.
Okay. After all that, I get that. All right. Stormwater Management Resources, our director is Matt Lake.
Yeah, really quick. We're finishing up our draft stormwater ordinance update. Last year, we updated our flood hazard ordinance, so now we're going back and updating our stormwater ordinance. Did it in conjunction with Christopher Burke Engineering and our attorney, Jim Meyer. So you'll be seeing that probably late next month, or early April, possibly at that point in time. We're also hosting a contractors workshop for Northwest Indiana. It'll be on March 3rd at the Dean and Barbara White Community Center. We expect about 150 attendees. I'll be speaking there, as well as Bill Emerson, the Lake County surveyor. We had a pump go out at 69th Connecticut. We had since replaced it with a brand new one. And we're working on getting easements. We got to get the easement agreements done through VS Engineering. And then I'll approach Jim Donahue, actually. I got his direct contact, so I don't think it'll be a problem getting the easements over there. Also preparing for our CRS audit, which will be Thursday with FEMA. And I talked to Mike Duffy from DLZ today, too, about the Winfield project at 101st and Clay Street. Ryan Construction was a low bid, so we'll be invited to the pre-con meeting. So, because we got a little coordination to do there, because you're going to be paving probably later this year. So we want to make sure that everybody's on the same page with all that. And another project that we're actually moving forward on is 93rd and Randolph Street, southeast corner. Christopher Burke will have plans done about a week and a half or so. And we'll get that one out to bid quick, because that one's kind of time dependent because of the crops and everything that going out there. So that's all I had.
Matt, did you want to touch base? I know you and I talk all the time, but maybe update everyone on the process you're going through to identify the retention ponds in town, where we are.
Yeah, we had a proposal that we accepted from Robinson Engineering. They're going to be remapping all the residential detention parcels, along with other attributes, including open water and other features, something that we can use towards a fee study, which we also met with Carl Sender on to move forward on that, so we can gather all of our information and use that for a fee study, so we know the costs involved in that endeavor.
Great. Thank you, Matt.
Mr. President.
Mr. White?
Yeah, Matt, this question is for you, actually. With the identifying the retention ponds, would that include the one that's in Berkeley Village?
Everything that's designed for residential detention, so I'll have to look at that, but yes, I believe that one is.
Yeah, the reason I'm asking that, because I know last time we talked, we didn't own that, and I don't know where it's at now. It might be on tax sale. I think it was on.
We don't own any.
A lot of them.
Yeah,
We only own
that's
5.
the idea of the survey.
Well, the only thing is that people ask me to put retainers around them, like little small fences and stuff, and I think when myself and Matt talked about it, because it wasn't ours, we couldn't really.
No, we're not allowed to.
But
Yeah.
at the same time, it still creates a risk, because you know what an old fishing pond back there, for a better lack of words. So yeah, I just wanted to update on that when you get a chance. Thank you.
I believe Senator Niemeyer's working on a bill downstate, something that involves getting any parcels that are on the whatchamacallit, when they go on tax sale over to municipalities. That was in the paper the other day. I imagine that's how we'll end up getting a lot of these parcels. It'll be kind of a phasing in process, I imagine.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Matt. South Shore Visitors and Convention Authority, Mr. Reardon.
Good evening, Mr. President. We have a meeting on Friday, and at our past meeting, presentation was made by Senator Melton having to do with legislation. A lot of it has been the newspaper in support of new taxes to drive development in and around the casino area, and also this conversation has rekindled discussion on the location of a convention center in the county. And as you're aware, and other members of the council are, we're at that table. The county, pardon me, the council might remember that the South Shore Convention Visitors Authority commissioned a report several years ago, and at the time, Merrillville had two of the three favorite sites for the proposed convention center. And of course, in my opinion, nothing's really changed. So we'll keep you apprised of what happens there. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Fire Territory Board, Mr. Minchuk.
Yes, they had a meeting yesterday. We discussed a particular grant that may or may not help with their manpower. We're going to be looking at all the ins and outs of that. Went over a few other ordinances at that time.
Thank you. Moving on tonight to department reports. We'll start with Police Department, Chief Nusis.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just want to make everybody aware we've been working again still with multiple agencies in the surrounding area trying to get some action into play to help alleviate some of the issues that we've been having. That's going to continue. We're working further on actually having more of a concentrated project going into play where we're going to be just focusing on problem houses or problem areas that we have. So that's going to continue. That's about all I have for tonight.
Did you want to touch base on animal control? I know that you just Monday has taken over responsibilities of that department. I know there's some residents here tonight who are probably going to speak to us about animal control in town, and you're more than welcome to do that. But we are working on a few things, and I'll let Chief Nusis explain.
Sure. We, as of Monday, we made some arrangements and we moved the former animal control officer. So we're making arrangements. We're looking for a new animal control officer. We're also looking at alternative options. I've been on the phone today with different agencies in the area. I've also been on the phone with the Humane Society trying to come up with a conclusion as to what we can do, or a solution rather. And we're working on it.
Okay. Thank you, Chief.
Mr. President?
Mr. White.
Yeah, I just want to say thanks, thank you, Chief, for the good job that you're doing working with multiple agencies. I get a lot of calls saying, hey, something's going on out there, and they were glad to see the presence of multiple agencies. And I think we on the right track with that, and I just want to let you know it was appreciated by the community that you did that. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Planning and Building Department, Ms. Shine.
No report until BZA actions.
Okay. Moving on then to the Street Department, Mr. King.
Well, a couple things, as you mentioned, President Bell, the Street Department, our department's been called Public Works for, well, it was called Street Department at one time and Public Works now, and we'd like to get that permanently changed back to the Street Department. By definition, that's what we are. We don't handle any utilities in the town. Our focus is on, keeping the town's infrastructure, beautified, so that that would fall under a street department. So we like to get that permanently changed to the street department. Couple other things, the two-way radios that Councilman Minchuk mentioned, we've been working with Deputy Chief Lilly for the past few months on these things. People, today's day and age, even our employees, using their cell phones. Well, back in the day, it was just a cell phone. Well, these are mini computers now. They're very distracting to our employees during the day, and heaven forbid, something happened while they're in one of the town vehicles, in an accident or something happened. The radios are a lot safer. I've got pricing for Councilman Minchuk. I'll probably leave that with him tonight. We just got some more stuff in. So that's what's going on with that. We're taking advantage of the warm weather. We're picking up trash all over town. This week alone, between yesterday and today, we picked up well over 100 bags of trash. Wow. It's everywhere. And we're getting a good jump on it with being, so nice outside. Our crews are working at that. Some of the road projects so far we got coming up this year, I just wanted to highlight these. The C&O Trail, the Phase 3, the bids were open here on the 7th of February. We have an apparent low bidder. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I'll get them, and we're looking to award that on the next council meeting. Like to get that awarded. Our community crossings projects, which we received almost $800,000 in matching funds from the state. The bids were open early March. Or we're going to be opening the bids here early March, and the roads we're doing. The Broadway frontage roads, south of Route 30, both sides. We're going to do a section of 86th Avenue between Merrillville Road and McKinley Street. We also opened bids for 86th Avenue Extension. That's off of Merrillville Road, and it's going to extend all the way out to Broadway. That was awarded to Reith Riley at a previous meeting, and that's going to start in the spring. So that's all I have.
Mr. White.
Yes, sir. Thank you. This question is for Steve. Actually, I want to get an update on a couple of things. One being the digital speed signs. I know they were supposed to be here, so are they ready to be installed?
I just need to know where you want them. We have them.
I'll get with you on that one. Secondly, of course, I heard you talk earlier, Mr. President, about some of the lighting. It just seemed like these lights don't want to work all over the place. It's just like they go off. But one of my major things I want to stay focused on is that it's been dark in my area for a long time. And I think we had talked about, Pat, last year, about 61st Avenue.
Right.
The light program and the amenities, and I still haven't seen that move forward yet. I'd like to get with you sometime this week.
That's fine.
We'll talk about that again. As far as the community crossing grants is concerned, Mr. Steve, I need to talk to you about to see if there are some things that we can get done in Ward 7. In addition, I know me and you had also talked about speed bumps too. So,
We actually were looking into those now as we speak.
So yeah, because people told me, we're going to get a petition. We want these speed bumps. So I did share that with you, and then we'll talk about it. That's it, Mr. President.
Thank you.
I have one thing, Mr. President.
Mr. Hardaway.
Did I understand you say that you've been going through picking up trash, leaves and stuff?
Not garbage,
Right, well,
bottles, plastic.
how about coming down to the 5400 block of Jackson on the north end of 5400 block of Jackson? There's a couple piles that's been there, and I'm afraid that they're gonna start taking root pretty soon and start growing all over again if we don't get them.
So it's branches, you're saying, Mr. Hardaway?
Beg your pardon?
Branches, you're saying?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah, yeah, if you can get that. Well, they've been there for a long time, and I thought the people were gonna move them, but they didn't move them, so.
Okay.
We've got great weather right now, so it's a great time to
Yeah.
get them.
Yeah, there's a big pile on 66, just past Madison, the subdivision island there. They've been sitting there all winter.
So council, just do me a favor and reach out to
Yeah.
Steve privately after the meeting and give him any locations you have, and I'm sure Steve and his crew will get out there and get it
Yep.
taken
Right.
care of, guys. Okay?
Thank you,
Mr.
Steve.
Reardon,
No
anything
problem.
to add?
I do. Torrance is not able to be here tonight. He wanted me to inform the council that They've received one bid for the reconstruction, rebuild of the shelters, and they're waiting for two other bids that are due by the end of the month. So we certainly should see some improvement in activity in the coming spring.
Great.
I have a question for Pat. Is that bid for any place to shelter there off of Rosenbaum Park, rather?
I believe that's one of them. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's one of them.
Yes.
Yeah, because I've been waiting to hear from Torrance on that.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Pat, how are we going to fund those? Is that going to be an ARP project, Richard?
What?
The gazebo repairs that we need at some of the parks.
We'll have to have a meeting on it.
Okay. Thanks. All right, thank you, Pat. Moving on to general orders tonight, we have ordinance 23-02. It's an ordinance of the town of Merrillville authorizing additional appropriations in various funds for the 2023 budget.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Pettit with a second by Mrs. Uselak for approval of ordinance on first reading 23-02. Anything to add, Trista or Kelly? It's a large amount we're moving around here, but go ahead.
2302.
As to the top of the list for the police department expenses, those all relate, you might recall, to the result of the FOP negotiations. Those are all values that council has discussed in various meetings. This is now putting the money in place then to finish up through the remainder of the year paying for those items. The additional pension, the kinds of things that we had talked about. I can answer specific questions if you'd like, but the second part, Mr. King can certainly answer any questions for it. You should have the communication form to you that they provided for the additional appropriation.
Yeah.
Looks like this, from Public Works to explain the various things that they'd like to purchase. They do have cash balance in their local road and street fund. To cover this, I was told that the pulverizer is something that they'd been saving for and planning for several years, and so thus the result of the cash balance. It won't leave them with a huge cash balance, but it will leave them with some, and it is a fund that receives revenue each month during the year. We are budgeted appropriately for the year based on that revenue separately, and so I see no reason why this can't be approved by you at the next meeting.
Any other questions or comments from the council?
Mr. President,
Mr. White?
is there an amount that they're transferring? What's the amount, you know?
It's right on the
In
ordinance.
the ordinance.
It's right here,
23-02.
2302.
I didn't look at that, I'm sorry, I was looking at this. Okay. No more questions.
Anything else from the council? Hearing none, Madam Clerk Treasurer, roll call, please.
Mr. Hardaway?
Yes.
Mr. Minchuk?
Yes.
Mrs. Uzelak?
Yes.
Mr. Pettit?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Aye.
Mr. Bella?
Yes.
6 in favor.
6 in favor, motion carries. Thank you. Moving on tonight to ordinance 23-03. It's ordinance of the town of Merrillville, amending ordinance 22-29A, the 2023 salary ordinance, and the amendment of ordinance 23-01.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Pettit, with a second by Mrs. Uselak for approval. This is 2303.
Point of order, on 2303, we've got a couple corrections. I think you should table it.
What are you correct?
And number 3, it doesn't, it should have said $2,000 in increase for 2 officers. It says 1,000, so the total's not correct. And it came over in a format where we couldn't correct it. Linda couldn't correct it, and Robin didn't get it in enough time. And it's also misspelled at the top. Ordinance is misspelled. So the amount, but
Are these
the most
corrections we
relative
can make
amount is.
tonight, and then it's only first reading, then we can adjust it for a second reading?
It can be adjusted, yes.
So explain again, we need to add, the increase is $2,000 where it says the ARP bonuses?
Right, because it's 2 officers, so it should be $2,000. So,
Oh, I see.
payroll administrator didn't get enough time to make to contact Trista to make the corrections.
Okay,
And it wasn't in a format which we could correct.
we'll fix the typo too. Mr. Pettit and Mrs. Uselak, does your motion and your second stand with the correction?
Yes.
Yes.
Anything else to add, Trista?
No, these 2 officers were inadvertently left off of the payroll request in December, so this will make them whole. Nothing further than that.
Okay, any other discussion from the council? Hearing none, Madam Clerk Treasurer, roll call, please.
Mr. Hardaway?
Yes.
Mr. Benchuk?
Yes.
Mrs. Uzelak?
Yes.
Mr. Pettit?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Aye.
And Mr. Bella?
Yes.
6 in favor.
6-0, motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to ordinance 23-01.
No, it's out of order, Mr. President.
Yeah.
I noticed that too.
Yes.
That's a second reading, isn't it?
Yes,
Yep.
second reading. Should go
Yep,
for-
excuse me. Moving on then to 23-04. Ordinance of the Town of Merrillville entitled Parking in Yards, and 12-188 entitled Definitions and Repealing of All Town Code Sections and Ordinances or Parts thereof in conflict herewith. Mr. Svetnov, can you give us an idea of what we're doing here with this ordinance?
Brief synopsis, Mr. President. We're tightening up the definition of the parking in yards to include vehicles, motorized vehicles, and off-road vehicles or machinery. We expanded the definitional section as well. So at this time, I just ask that you go ahead and approve this on first reading.
So moved, Mr. President.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Pettit with a second by Mrs. Uselak for approval on first reading of ordinance 23-04. Discussion by the council?
Yes, Mr. President.
Mr. White?
Actually, this is a really good ordinance here. I think we've all rode around and seen multiple vehicles. It looked like it's actually really getting out of hand. And I did notice on Taft Street, right off of 57, I think code enforcement have been through there multiple times. And when I drove through there just most recently, I did see an engine being removed. So that tells me that there's a repair shop there. It's not, and they got vehicles all the way around that particular property. So I think this will give us some teeth to go out there, Mr. Stefanoff, to get that job done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the council? Hearing none, Madam Clerk Treasurer, roll call, please, on first reading of 23-04.
Mr. Hardaway?
Yep.
Mr. Benchuk?
Yes.
Mrs. Uzelak?
Yes.
Mr. Pettit?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Aye.
And Mr. Bella?
Yes.
6 in favor.
6-0, motion carries. Moving on tonight to ordinance 23-05. It's an ordinance amending the town code, section 6-327, entitled Standards for Maintenance and Repealing All Town Code Sections and Ordinances or Parts thereof in conflict herewith. Mr. Svetnov.
Yes, this is a standards of maintenance ordinance, which basically states that all buildings which are abandoned have to be not only secured but boarded up. It provides the method and methodology on how to board them up and make sure that everything is in order. So at this time, I ask that you accept this reading on first order, or accept this ordinance on first reading.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Uselak, second by Mr. Pettit for approval of ordinance 23-05. Open for discussion. For the audience, these ordinances are all posted on the town website. This is first reading tonight, so there's no public comment, but there'll be public comment the next time we read these ordinances on second reading, okay? Madam Clerk Treasurer, roll call.
Mr. Hardaway?
Yes.
Mr. Benchuk?
Yes.
Mrs. Uzelak?
Yes.
Mr. Pettit?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Aye.
And Mr. Bella?
Yes.
6 in favor.
Thank you. 6 in favor, that motion carries. Moving on tonight to ordinance 23-06. It's an ordinance amending the town code sections 21-172 entitled zoning, off-street parking, and repealing all town code sections and ordinances or parts thereof in conflict herewith. Mr. Svetnov.
Yes, this has to do with storage containers, dumpsters, semi-trailers, containers, and cloth ports. This goes through, establishes a definitional section for that, and also basically deals with these items being located on a property, how long they can be located for, and it's a pretty substantive ordinance. It has a lot of detail in it. So at this time, we ask this be accepted. And this was all these ordinances that I'm going through tonight have been identified by the council or by administrative staff or by staff themselves to be addressed head-on. So this ordinance does that in terms of dealing with those types of containers. So we ask that this be accepted on first reading.
Motion to approve, Mr. President.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Pettit with a second by Mrs. Uselak for approval of ordinance 23-06. Questions or comments from the council?
President Bell, I have a question.
This is,
Since this says it's to be adopted at the time of passing, the permit process requires a 30-day prior to placement of any donation box, storage container, or dumpster within the town to be approved, to be an application form in my office, in the clerk treasurer's office. Is this going to be retroactive to people who already have their donation box, Goodwill, Salvation Army, businesses that have donation boxes and/or dumpsters? They're doing work. Is it retroactive because it doesn't say it is? Or going forward, if anyone goes forward, they have to do it? Okay.
from adoption on. Hearing no other questions or comments, Madam Clerk Treasurer, roll call, please.
Mr. Hardaway?
Yes.
Mr. Minchuk?
Yes.
Ms. Uzelak?
Yes.
Mr. Pettit?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Aye.
And Mr. Bell?
Yes. 0, motion carries. Moving on tonight to ordinance 23-07, it's an ordinance to promote the general welfare of the citizens and prohibiting donation boxes within the town and repealing all town code sections, et cetera.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Svetnov.
Yes, this is a problem that's been identified in the town, specifically with donation drop boxes. The donation drop boxes are sometimes put without getting the owner's permission. They're placed on a property, they're overflowing, they're not upkept very well. So at this time, what we're doing is we're prohibiting the donation drop boxes, or putting in a process in which they can get approved to have donation drop boxes on the property. This will then give us the information that if the donation box is unsightly or looks terrible, that we can go ahead and contact the owner of the donation box and make sure that these donation boxes are registered to people. So at this time, I ask that you accept it on first reading.
Questions or comments from the council?
I'm sorry, Mr. President, same question. Is this from this point going forward, or does it include people who already have those already?
I think we're gonna go,
forward.
we may go retro. We may go retro on this one.
Yeah, I think we did talk about that at the committee,
Yeah.
because it's a problem.
Yep.
Asking because
So
we were
what-
going to
what
do
we'll-
it when
what
they
we'll
did
do-
their business license, so
what
we
we'll
need to
do-
figure out how to.
What we'll do
this.
is, we'll go ahead and probably give those owners that already have the donation boxes a warning
Yeah.
to trigger them to go ahead and register. We're having a problem, though, with some of these donation boxes, because they're placed on the property, just placed, and there's no ownership, contact.
They don't know what's going on.
So then we have to impound them, actually,
Yeah.
so.
Okay,
And
so we'll work with code enforcement to do it. I'm just trying to figure out just practically what we need to do to get this done.
We're cracking down a little bit. The towns, we need to clean it up a little bit. That's what we're doing. Motion by Mr. Hardaway with a second by Mr. Pettit.
No, Mr. Minchuk.
Joe,
I'm sorry, Mr. Minchuk.
we changed sides of the room.
You did. Thank you, Sean, for the
Archie
correction.
and I got tired, right?
Yes, we gave them a break.
Mr. Minchuk. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, Madam Clerk Treasurer, roll call, please.
Sure,
First
Mr.
reading.
Hardaway?
Yes.
Mr. Minchuk?
Yes.
Mrs. Uzelak?
Yes.
Mr. Pettit?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Mr. White?
Aye.
Mr. Ballard?
Yes.
6.
6-0, that motion carries. Moving on tonight to ordinance 23-08. It's an ordinance amending the town code, section 13-2, entitled nuisances illustrative enumeration, and repealing all town code sections and ordinances or parts thereof. Mr. Svetnov.
Simply, this is dealing with basketball hoops. Basketball hoops can't be pulled out onto the street, they have to be located on the property. This gives a kind of a specific requirement on how they're supposed to be located. So at this time, I ask that you accept this ordinance on first reading.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Mrs. Uselak back on this side of the room, and a second by Mr. Pettit.
Change places, all right?
Okay.
Questions or comments from the council? We're not saying you can't have a basketball hoop, but you can't be out in the street. We can't block cars, we can't have the kids getting injured, et cetera. So that's the purpose of this ordinance,
Public health safety.
public health safety.
Yep.
Any other comments? Madam Clerk Treasurer, roll call.
This is 2308, correct?
It is.
Okay. Mr. Hardaway?
Yes.
Mr. Benchuk?
Yes.
Mrs. Uzelak?
Yes.
Mr. Pettit?
Yes.
And Mr. White? And Mr. Bella? Okay.
Oh, you're taking the roll?
You said roll call.
Oh, I vote aye. I thought you were asking a question, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
no, I asked and they answered.
Still waiting.
So then I
Madam
went on to
Chair.
do
I
the
am
roll
so
call.
sorry.
I just wanted to make sure I had the right one.
6-0, motion carries. Okay.
What? I never,
Leonard didn't vote.
I didn't
don't
vote.
think.
Oh, you didn't vote?
no, you didn't call my name, madam.
I said
I
Mr.
don't,
White.
yeah, I was a little confused there.
That was a little fast.
Why don't we retake the vote?
Let's do it
Yeah.
again.
Okay.
Okay.
Madam Clerk Treasurer, would you please take the roll
Roll
call?
call on ordinance number 23-08, because I wanted to be sure of that. Mr. Hardaway?
Yes.
Mr. Minchuk?
Yes.
Mrs. Uzelak?
Yes.
Mr. Pettit?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Aye.
And Mr. Bella?
Yes,
6 in favor.
still 6 in favor, motion carries. We're getting through it, guys. Ordinance 23-09, it's an ordinance to promote the general welfare of the citizens and limit the number of animals residing within a household within the town, and repealing all town code sections and ordinances or parts thereof. Mr. Svetnov.
Simply, this limits the number of animals residing within a household to 3 animals. It basically lays out in this section what are counted as animals. So at this time, I just ask that you go ahead and accept this ordinance as tendered on first reading.
So moved.
Chair will recognize Mr. Pettit. Is there a second?
Yes.
Second by Mrs. Uselak. Ms. Shine, this has always been a rule of the town, right? And I think we're just kind of adding some teeth to this
Yes,
ordinance?
I think the wording was changed to be
Right.
more, so the residents can understand because the wording was changed.
Okay. Other questions or comments from the council?
I think at one time it used to be 2 animals to the house. Am I correct?
No, I think it was
No, it's always
three.
been 3.
Oh, it's always been 3? Okay, thank you.
But it wasn't straightforward enough. It talked about a kennel.
Oh.
That they wasn't allowed in town, that a kennel wasn't allowed in town, which is
Okay.
not. But what people say, I don't have a kennel, I just have 5 dogs. No, so now we changed the ordinance to say 3 animals is the limit.
Okay, thank you.
But, Mr. President, to Mr. Svetnov and to Ms. Shine, this particularly applies, I guess, out where I'm at in the Panhandle, agriculturally zoned property. This is for residentially zoned property, correct, Joe?
Correct.
Yes.
Correct, this is residential, so
Residential.
anything that's zoned agricultural, there are people out there that have 3, 4, 5 horses.
Not in an agricultural zone. It's specifically in the.
It's specifically to residential, just so the public knows that this is residentially zoned property. Anybody that's out in the Panhandle or there's other agricultural zoning in
There is.
some areas of town.
Mr. President?
Mr. White?
Yeah, a question here in the terms of when we say 3 animals, 3 dogs or whatever. So if you got 2 male dogs and 1 female dog, and the female dog has the puppies, and now you got 10 animals there, does that apply the same way?
Yes, it does. And there's a mechanism within the ordinance.
You give the puppies away to people who only have 2 or
Well,
less?
because it happened quite often and stuff. That's what I'm saying, you know.
Yeah.
I just thought, I didn't know.
Yeah. It's very appropriate on Valentine's Day, so.
Okay, thanks.
Well, we can ask for clarity. A puppy is a dog, right? I mean, that's,
I've got a question. I just want to be
Madam
sure.
Clerk Treasurer.
And I just want, just for clarification purposes, because
problem.
it's going to come up. This does not include fish. Aquarium, right? I mean, I know it sounds silly, but I'm serious. I'm going to ask.
I think it's actually in here.
It says reptiles, fowls,
Yeah, no fish.
and animals. I just want to be sure that an aquarium is not going to cost people $25. Okay. And,
No,
but,
we're not on fish patrol.
Absolutely. But some
But
homes
if,
may
but if you
have.
got 2 dogs and then your child wants a bird, she can't have a rabbit too, or.
Right.
Because that's.
So is it 3 dogs, 3 rabbits, or 3 birds? Which one? I'm just asking.
You gotta make.
Three,
the choice.
period.
What about the
Mars
cat?
says cats. 3 cats.
3 cats, that's it, anything, and 3 of anything.
Three of a
cats,
kind.
2, 3 kitty cats,
Doesn't even have to be 3 of a kind, it could be three different
2 dogs,
species.
1 cat.
We was asked to move on, Mr. Chair.
Yes, call for the vote, Mr.
There's been a call for the vote. Madam Clerk Treasurer.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Everything okay, Kelly?
We just heard, we didn't know where that came from. I think it was my watch. Because Siri listens to everything we say, and I think she had something to say about this ordinance.
That's second
Said, "Here's
reading,
what I
so you can
found."
comment at second reading.
Right.
If it's not too much trouble, could
You
you
ready
call
for
the
roll
roll?
call? Okay.
Yes.
Mr. Hardaway?
Yes.
Mr. Benchuk?
Yes.
Mrs. Uzelak?
Yes.
Mr. Pettit?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Aye.
And Mr. Bella?
Yes. 6-0, that motion passes. First reading. Moving on to 23-10, it's an ordinance establishing a parking regulation promoting unencumbered access to mailboxes and repealing all town code sections and ordinances or parts thereof in conflict herewith. Mr. Svetnov.
We've had a problem for years with people blocking other people's access to mailboxes.
Right.
This will no longer occur. We not only discuss it in the ordinance itself, but we provide a fine schedule. So at this time, I ask that you accept this ordinance on first reading, Mr. President.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Pettit, seconded by Mrs. Uselak for approval of ordinance 23-10. Just don't block the mailboxes, right? That's the
Right.
bottom line.
Yes.
Right.
For those of us that live on a cul-de-sac, this is well overdue.
Any other discussion?
Yes, Mr. President. In
Mr. White.
terms of who would enforce the ordinance for the mailbox?
Code
Police?
enforcement. These are town codes, and
Code
code
enforcement.
enforcement will
Okay.
continue.
Oh, the police are not involved?
Police can write.
Oh,
I
yeah.
thought the police were involved.
Police, yeah.
Code enforcement now is part of us, so code enforcement or police. If it's on a weekend, it'll be police, but somebody,
So it doesn't matter which one we call?
correct.
Okay.
We'll take care of it.
Any other comments? Hearing none. Madam Clerk Treasurer, roll call, please.
Mr. Hardaway?
Yes.
Mr. Minchuk?
Yes.
Mrs. Uzelak?
Yes.
Mr. Pettit?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Aye.
And Mr. Bella?
Yes.
6 in favor.
6-0, motion carries. Moving on tonight to second reading ordinances. It's ordinance 23-01. It's an ordinance of the Town of Merrillville, Lake County, Indiana, amending ordinances 22-29A and pay for employees of the Town of Merrillville, Indiana for the calendar year 2023. See, Trista, if you could come up and explain what we're doing.
As listed, excuse me. As listed at the top there below the paragraph, you see it relates to the police department and the planning and building department. On page 2, I direct your attention to the patrol special first class. That is in place now pursuant to the FOP negotiations so that the pension can be adjusted pursuant to those negotiations. And secondly, the fire inspector had been on his own document. So since we were doing this amendment anyway, it made sense to include him now in the list with everyone else.
Thank you.
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Pettit, second by Mrs. Uselak for approval of ordinance 23-01 on second and final reading. Discussion from the council first. Hearing none, open to the public. Is there any public comment on this specific ordinance tonight? Is there any public comment? Hearing none, Madam Clerk Treasurer, roll call when you can.
1 second.
Good, good.
Yep.
Good,
No problem.
good. Call the roll. Yeah,
Is there a question, Mr. Minchuk?
No, sir.
Mr. Hardaway?
Yep.
Mr. Benchuk?
Yes.
Mrs. Uzelak?
Yes.
Mr. Pettit?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Aye.
And Mr. Bella?
Yes.
6 in favor.
6-0, motion carries on second and final reading. Thank you all.
Okay.
Mr. President, if I could quickly,
Mr. Pettit.
I'd like to thank Attorney Svetnov and his colleague, Ricardo, for putting all these ordinances together, Joe. We've had several council affairs meetings, and I know there are other ordinances that the department heads want us to look at. So where there's going to be a second round of ordinance revisions, I'm sure. Thank you, Joe.
I think there's another 5 or 6 to go, right, Joe?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay.
At least another 2 that are under some minor
Great.
revision right now.
There are no resolutions tonight for our consideration. Moving on to the American Rescue Plan. Chairman is Mr. Hardaway.
Thank you, Mr. President. The accounts payable register voucher for the ARP is $125,108.40. Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Hardaway. The Chair will recognize Mr. Pettit for the second to approve the ARP voucher register in the amount of $125,108.40. Questions or comments from the council? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, Mr. Hardaway.
Thank you.
Moving on tonight to Board of Zoning Appeals and Large Gathering Actions, Ms. Shine.
So we have one petition that's present, and that is Merrillville Community School Corporation. And Mr. Griffith, if you could come over to the,
Ms. Shine, if you don't mind, can you back up to the U-Haul truck rental?
yes, Mr. Adams is ill this evening, so he asked that we table it.
Motion to table, Mr. President.
Second.
You have a motion by Mr. Pettit, a second by, was it Mr. White?
Yes.
By Mr. White to table, pending the petitioner's attendance. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor for tabling, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Shine. Now, please proceed.
So, the petitioner that's present this evening is the Merrillville Community School Corporation. Is the petitioner owner, Merrillville School Corporation, and their purpose is to add an addition to the existing school. Petitioner is requesting special exception approval from section 21-136 to allow an addition to an existing school in an R2 residential zoning district located at 5901 Waite Street. Merrillville Community School Corporation would like to build a cafeteria and kitchen addition to the Miller School located at 5901 Waite Street. The addition will be 32 feet by 78 feet. The addition will be 45 feet away from the bank of the existing drain and above any floodplain. The current space is used for a playground. This addition will not impede the school's normal or orderly development of the surrounding properties. The proposed special exception will not change traffic flow or school enrollment. Robinson Engineer, Matt Lake, and the Stormwater Director, and Steve King are presently reviewing the civil plans for the addition. And Mr. President and Council, I think it's tomorrow, Mr. Griffin, they will be going before the Drainage Board, the Lake County Drainage Board, they're encroaching into the Lake County drainage
Yeah, we go
easement.
9 o'clock tomorrow morning to the Lake County Drainage Board for a request for reduction on that easement.
And they needed to get our approval first before they go before the Drainage Board.
Motion to approve.
Second.
The motion by Mr. Hardaway, second by Mr. Minchuk. Discussion from the council? Anything else to add, Sheila?
No, that's it. Good luck at the Drainage Board tomorrow.
Thank you all.
Yeah, we need to vote, so. Madam Clerk Treasurer, let's call the roll on this, please.
Mr. Hardaway,
Yes.
Mr. Minchuk,
Yes.
Mrs. Uzelak,
Yes.
Mr. Pettit,
Yes.
Mr. White,
Aye.
and Mr. Bella.
Yes.
6 in favor.
6 in favor, motion carries. Thank you all. Moving on to new business tonight. Is there any new business before us?
I got one thing quickly.
Mr. Hardaway.
Mr. President. Yesterday, I had the opportunity to attend the Gary
Chamber,
The Gary's,
Chamber,
I'm thinking of the name of it now.
Chamber of Commerce.
But anyway, there's an African-American firm, McKinsey and McKinsey. Chamber of Commerce meeting is what it was. Now it came to me. When you get my age, it takes a while to think about stuff. But it was a Chamber of Commerce meeting, and McKinsey Architecture. It was one of the first African-American architectural companies in the country, and they're over 100 years old. And the gentleman that spoke yesterday has pledged to Gary to come in and work with Gary and mentor some of the youth there for engineering, architectural opportunities. So I'm thinking that maybe I would like to reach out to this gentleman on behalf of our town and see if if he would be willing to come to our town as well and mentor some of our youth, especially African-American high school students, and give them the opportunity for engineering type positions as well as architecture. I think it's a great opportunity. The Mayor Gary was there, and all the residents that were there were excited that this guy's coming this summer to start working with them. And he said, all of his resources or whatever that he has available to him, he's willing to share with the city of Gary. So I want us here, I want our youth. It doesn't have to be African-American youth, but I want all youth to have the opportunity to be able to experience this. And if they're thinking about being engineers, architects, then this would be a great opportunity for them, because this architectural firm is owned by two women, two daughters.
Oh, wow.
They're the ones that own it. So I think it's a great opportunity for us, but I just think that we should explore that and see when he comes to Gary, see if we can bring him down here for lunch or something and see what he can do for us. That's all I have.
Great.
Do we have any firms now working with the youth?
Beg your pardon?
Do we have any firms here in Merrillville that
I
are
don't think so.
working with the youth
Not that
now?
not that I'm aware of.
Oh, because I thought that we did through the high school. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, but what they do in the high school is basically carpentry and stuff like that.
Right.
This is totally different. Engineering and architecture is just up here.
Sure.
On the food chain, which
I
is
understand.
which is what I'd like to see our youth get involved in.
Maybe we should approach also our local engineering companies such as Structure Point,
Right, yeah.
BPS, and then Robinson as well.
Right, yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
That's all I have, Mr. President.
Okay. Moving on to old business. The only thing I'll say under this category is you see the time capsule sitting here. We finally got it prepared. And we're going to start filling it with a variety of items. We did a list. I shared it with everybody. Some of you have letters to write to your counterpart 50 years from now. You see the date on there. That's when the capsule will be opened. And we're going to lock it and throw away the key. So we'll start filling it, and we'll have a little ceremony when we actually lock it for good. And
Mr. President?
we are going to put a box of Twinkies in there, just for fun.
Would you still like for me to enter the box and open it up in 50 years?
I was just joking, Leonard.
Well, I told him I'd be a skeleton if I came out in 50
But what
years,
do
so.
we do? Just write
Big
our
enough.
personal letter
Hey,
to?
you're writing to your future council person from your district.
Okay. our
Talk
future.
about what the town looks like now and what you'd like to see in the future. We're going to put photographs in there of all the various events that have taken place here, our 50th year celebration, pictures of town staff, excuse me, will be included, and blueprints of this building and of the community center. And should be something fun to open up in 50 years.
Well, we might be a city.
Might be.
We might have words.
Moving on tonight to public comment. Is there any public comment tonight? Please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record, and come on up. You can make a little cue there if you'd like.
Come on, let's get going.
Good evening. My name is Mary Ann, and I've spoken many times about animal control to this board. And I'm going to talk again about the lack of animal control in the town of Merrillville. I'm a tax-abiding citizen and I pay my taxes, and I'm concerned who is going to pick up our stray animals that are found in Merrillville. Merrillville no longer has a contract with the Humane Society of Northwest Indiana. And Gary Animal Control has so many stray dogs, it is not fair to burden them with the situation of our own town's lack of animal control. I assumed when I paid my taxes, part of them were to support an animal control of our town, but I guess I am wrong. Why don't we have a building for animal control? We have a very large town. Why don't we have one? And why did we just have one person who wasn't competent at her job? And so many complaints were against the one person, and yet she was still able to maintain her job and did not do a good job at it. Our town keeps growing, and yet no care is given to what's left of our stray and lost cats and dogs in our city. And there has been so many negative comments about people, and I work at a shelter, and people are saying, well, they said you'll take, I said, no, I don't have a contract with Merrillville. We dissolved it. And they're told, but you will take our animal. No, Gary can't take it. They're so burdened with so many 45 dogs, and it's weekly. They have to euthanize because they can't keep them all. So it's unfair for Merrillville to expect Gary to pick up the slack. They can't. They have been put on hiatus with Merrillville because they got in trouble. So it's just very, very frustrating because it's an issue. I keep coming back and forth, and nothing is ever resolved. I now would like to introduce Anna, who now is going to take it from here.
Hello, everybody. My name is Anna Smith. I've been a Merrillville homeowner for the last 12 years. I'm a certified EMT, I'm a firefighter, and I'm a local business owner. I run 219 Lost and Found Pets with a group of my friends. We are trappers. We are individuals that when you post on Facebook, I lost my dog, it went missing, it was seen over here. We get together, we bring out traps, we bring food, we bring trail cameras, and we set out and we track these animals, much like police track fugitives. We find paw prints, we find evidence that a dog went through garbage, and we try to get these pets back to their owners. I do this with animal control a lot too, with various different cities: Hammond, Highland, Cherville, Munster, Porter County, Portage. Any animal control officer that reaches out to me and says, I need help, I can't catch this dog, they call me, I load up my trap, I load up my gear, and for free, at no cost to any individual, I go out there and I get that dog. Every time I get that dog. I average 115 to 130 dogs a year that I either reunite or get into a rescue. I'm not one that reaches out to animal control for help. I reach out to rescues because I know how overburdened animal control is throughout Lake County. It's not just you guys here in Merrillville. It is Lake County, it is Porter County, it is Indiana as a whole. It is an issue. Mainly, I got really aggravated with the city of Merrillville as a resident myself when I was called to action by Barbara, the Merrillville Animal Control Officer. I am so very happy to hear that she's no longer there. She called me on January 27th and she said, I have a black German Shepherd that needs to be caught. It's injured. I believe it has a broken leg. It's growling at me and I can't catch it. I believe it's Harper from Rescue Abra. It's a missing dog. And I said, no problem. I left my business. I loaded up the trap and I went and I caught that dog. Barbara helped me set the trap. She was supposed to be there when I called her for help once the dog was in the trap. I called her, no answer. I sent her a text message, no response. I called the leader of our group, said, Merrillville just asked me to catch this dog. It's injured. I don't know what to do with it. I'm not getting any phone calls back. I start making my own phone calls. I ended up naming the dog Justice. She's a beautiful brindle pit bull. She was saved by the Lake County Sheriff. He had his animal control director call me at 11:30 at night, willing to send a police officer to my home to pick up that injured dog to make sure that it was taken care of. This whole situation could have went so many different ways. One, Barb knew I was out there with that dog. She left me on the side of the road with a dog in my trap. I'm a small woman. How am I supposed to pick up a pit bull in a huge cage by myself? She was supposed to be there. And now she's just been moved to code enforcement. Let's talk about if that dog was aggressive. What if I was bit? What if that dog bit me? How would this meeting look now? Because it would be a lawsuit, because it is a huge problem. She stuck that dog on me with no answers. She is a liability not only to this town, but she is a liability to every single citizen that lives in this town. It is not okay. I could have been hurt, and that is not okay, because she called me for help. And it wasn't even a German Shepherd, it was a pit bull. But that's besides the point. So it gets better. So when she finally calls me 2 hours later, she informs me, she's like, well, I don't really have a place for the dog to go. I don't know what we're gonna do. I then demanded for a supervisor. Barb, you have a boss. Your boss needs to call me. I don't care who your boss is, but somebody needs to call me, and someone needs to call me now. What am I supposed to do with this dog? I still have yet to get a phone call from anyone from the police department or from the town on the situation that I encountered. And so here's the best part. So Barb apparently used to be the city darter. When they couldn't catch a dog or another animal control couldn't catch a dog, they would go out with a dart gun and they would dart the dog. Apparently she doesn't really do that anymore, but she has some leftover medications. So when she called me back, she said, well, I just talked to my supervisor. He said, you can bring me the dog. I can give it some tranquilizer medications and we'll euthanize it in the morning. Okay, well, I have a lot of problems with that. Being a medic, I know how medications are supposed to be handled. I feel like a lot of things were misportrayed in that situation. How are you as an animal control officer? You're not a veterinarian. How are you just giving tranquilizer drugs to a dog, whether it be for pain medication or to hopefully overdose it to euthanize it? Either way, it's not only immoral, it is illegal, and the DEA should be involved in the situation. That just should not be happening. Who has control over these medications? Who authorizes this dog to be euthanized that hasn't even been looked at by a vet, by the animal control officer herself? She just calls me, oh yeah, we don't have a place for it, we'll just put it to sleep with some leftover pills. What a kind of show are we running around here? It is heartbreaking, it is wrenching that woman called me out there to go save that dog and then you just tell me that you're gonna kill it. Why did you call me? Why not just leave the dog on the road? It would have had a better chance. Thank goodness Lake County Sheriff Oscar Martinez stepped up and took the dog in. But the problem doesn't just end with moving Barb to code enforcement. It doesn't stop there. So you move her and you hire somebody else. Where are the protocols? Where is the authority that says this is what you're supposed to do, and who is making sure that it is done? Because right now it's not happening, and it hasn't happened for years. I finally just got mad enough to come up here and do something about it. We need a building. It is possible. We can get grants. We can get state funding. We can get our local business owners to step up and put up some cash. We can get kennels, put in a basement. We can get a shed, a half a shack, and put 3 or 4 dogs in it so that at a bare minimum, the legal stray hold is done for 3 days. After 3 days, maybe you need to reach out to other resources to house the dogs. Or let's adopt them out ourselves. Why are we putting the problem on Gary, who has 45 dogs and can't handle any more? Why are we not reaching out to Lakeshore Paws and Abra and all these other rescues that will take dogs in? Why is the only answer just put the dog down because we don't have space? And let's not even do it humanely. Let's torture the animal in the process of it. It is heartbreaking, and this should not be tolerated. It should not be allowed. I am disgusted that the town actually allows this and gets away with it. Gary does better. We are Merrillville. This is Merrillville. We are not Gary. We are not Hammond. We are not East Chicago. We are better than those cities. But when it comes to our animal control program, we are not. How can Gary hold 45 dogs, but Merrillville can't hold 1? So my question to all of you in conclusion is, if your pet got out, if your baby girl's dog got out and was crying on the floor, heartbroken, what would you all want done with your pet? How would you want your pet treated? Would you want Barb euthanizing it by accidentally overdosing the dog in less than 24 hours without even so much of a Facebook post? Hey, I found this dog on the corner. Let's try to find an owner. It's unacceptable. I will be your self-proclaimed animal control officer until you guys figure out a solution. I have been doing it for years on my own throughout Lake County and Porter County for the past 4 years. I have saved almost 500 dogs by myself with no city funding, no money, no equipment from anybody. So if I can do it on my own, why can't the town of Merrillville? And why did I never get a phone call back from anybody about the situation, Chief?
That was never even made aware to us. So some of this thing that you're telling us, there's no supervisor that would have told her to put the dog down.
Well, that's a problem.
I can tell you. And that's part of the reason why she's where she's at right now.
Well, why was she not fired? Why did she move to code enforcement? Because I have a toilet that's been sitting on the block of 5700 Massachusetts for probably
guys,
6 weeks.
So
I don't think she's going to handle that either.
We're not going to talk about personnel issues. You've heard what we've done tonight.
Sure.
She is no longer in animal control.
Okay.
Where we put her is our reasonings
So
behind
how
that.
do we make sure that the next person doesn't act in the same manner as Barb
Well,
did?
we're going to do our best to make sure that doesn't happen, okay?
And I'd like to help you do
that's why
that.
we put the supervision under Chief Newsis, and we need your phone number, because if you're going to step up and help us out,
Absolutely.
in the meantime, we'll be in touch.
I will
Sure.
have help. I have every animal
Okay.
directors, Humane Society, Animal Control. I know all of them.
And
We will get you help.
The chief is going to revamp the entire program. We've given him total authority to do that. Mr. Reardon, our town manager, made these moves on Monday morning after seeing the fiasco that happened with the dog.
I was
We all
the
felt
fiasco.
terrible
That
about
was
it, so that's why you
100%
saw
me.
fast action on this issue.
And I greatly
You have to
appreciate
trust us
that.
now to get the program fixed, and we want your input. Anything you could do to help us, we'll take it, because that's
I'll
where we
be
are.
there.
Okay,
You have my,
super.
yep, I will be there. You need a dog caught, I will be there. But I also need help from you guys in the means of a building or a way to shelter these animals. Whether it's a contract with another facility that will take the animals in, or putting a kennel or 4 in the basement here. I will go far as getting you those kennels. I will provide the kennels. I will get food donations. I will get you the things that you need to make this program better.
Super, thank you.
Let me give you my phone. Anastasia.
Did you have a comment, ma'am, over there? We have no plans yet. We're going to revamp the entire program. There's nothing to say tonight yet. You know, a lot of it is budgetary issues. A lot of it is what to do, personnel to take care of the dogs and care for them. So that's what we're going to look at. Ma'am, go ahead, please.
I'm
Hi.
Darian Collins. I live at 2505 West 65th Avenue, and I just wanted to make a comment about the Black History Month program. I'm really excited to be to attend it next week. I can't wait to see what's going to transpire, but I still am asking that something of substance be done with the proceeds from that event. I sat in one of the meetings and a comment was made that we don't expect to make any money. And I would say shame on Merrillville to put on an event that's going to have 350 attendees at $75 a ticket, and you don't expect to make any money. You guys should have called me or called some of the folks from NAACP, because we do them every year, and we make enough money to give out at least 8 to 10 $1,000 scholarships every year to students. And so if you need some help, I can help you. But I want to read this. She took a lot of time, so I'm going to take some time. I want to read this. Black History Month is an annual observance originating in the United States where it is also known as African American History Month. It has received official recognition from governments in the United States and Canada, and more recently has been observed in Ireland and the United Kingdom. It began as a way of remembering important people and events in the history of the African diaspora. It is celebrated in February in the United States and Canada, while in Ireland and the UK it is observed in October. Negro History Week, 1926. Now, if we're going to do this, let's talk about the facts. Let's know what it is. The precursor of Black History Month was created in 1926 in the United States when historian Carter G. Woodson and the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History announced the second week of February to be Negro History Week. This week was chosen because it coincided with the birthday of Abraham Lincoln on February 12th and that of Frederick Douglass on February 14th, both of which Black communities had celebrated since the late 19th century. Okay. The thought process behind the week was never recorded, but scholars acknowledge two reasons for its birth: recognition and importance. In 1915, Woodson had participated in the Lincoln Jubilee, a celebration of 50 years since emancipation from slavery, held in Bronzeville, Chicago. The summer-long Jubilee drew thousands of attendees from across the country to see exhibitions of heritage and culture. Okay. Early in the event's history, African-American newspapers lent crucial support. And then it just goes through. But what the key focus of Negro History Week, it was created because the contributions of African-Americans were ignored. They were not taught in history books. It was not taught in schools. And so this was a way to have our history taught. Then it was expanded to a month. Now we see in many places across the country where Negro history is being avoided or being minimized. So I would hope that when we have this wonderful celebration next week, that we talk about that this was a focus to learn and appreciate more the contributions of African Americans in this country. And I really hope that you guys find some money, that dinner makes a profit, because if it doesn't, shame on you. You needed some other people on the planning committee. Find some money, and it was my comment to donate, create some scholarships for HBCUs. More than, not only black students go to HBCUs, most of the baseball players at HBCUs are actually white students. So my grandparents went to Lincoln, my grandfather graduated from Lincoln. If you went to Lincoln now, Lincoln is more than 50% non-black. So I hope that that's just a suggestion, but I don't want us to minimize why Black History Month was created, what the focus is, why it's important, and why it needs to go forward. So thank you.
Mrs. Collins, you'll be pleasantly surprised next week. That's all I can tell you.
I already know. I've been working on it behind the scenes.
You'll be surprised.
So don't leave early during the event.
I'm working behind the scenes with some people.
Okay.
Sabina Miller, 3128 75th Place. One of the things that I wanted to raise is Mr. White was talking about speed. Sorry. Mr. White was talking about speed bumps and speed signs, etc. And I can tell you that if I look in my neighborhood in Lincoln Gardens, nothing works. Stop signs don't work. Nothing works. So the other day, I was actually walking with a neighbor of mine, and there is this little red car, and I'm telling you, I'm not exaggerating. This car went at least 50 to 60 miles an hour down Taney, then where Sauk Elementary is, with squealing tires, no stopping, no anything, just ran up past Sauk, over this way. We found it a street further down. What would I do with somebody who I don't have a license plate picture of? Would I report it? Would I send you there? What do we do when we see these people speeding and ignoring stop signs day in, day out, every single day? We got a 20-mile-per-hour speed limit. You know, 30 wouldn't kill anybody yet. But the speed that I see on some of these vehicles, and especially those that literally, and I'm at a three-way intersection in my house, approach the stop sign, and when they get close, they step on it to chase through the intersection. That is what we're seeing every single day, and that has not improved, and one day, somebody's gonna get plowed over. There is not a doubt in my mind about this. And we're little residential neighborhoods, we shouldn't be having this. And there's a family across the street from me, they have 5 kids. What if one of these kids steps out in the street, and this idiot that shoots past the elementary school with that high speed, you know, has total ignorance of what's going on there. So that's my biggest issue right now. Ever since I saw this guy, one day I'm gonna catch him with a picture, but would we call it in? What do we do?
Yeah, you can always call it in. I can also speak with you afterwards, and we could talk and see what we can try and come up with some type of solution. But if you're not getting a license plate, and even then, it would be difficult.
We saw him parked later, so theoretically I could, but I
Sure.
didn't get it in the act. I saw
Sure.
him parked later.
So, you can call us, we could put out an extra patrol in that area as well. Like I said, I can get your information after the meeting, and we can further discuss this.
Okay.
Okay?
And Mrs. Usulak, I sent several contractors to Torrance about that roof so that you guys can get quotes for that, so.
Are you talking about the shelter at Rosenbaum?
Yeah.
Yes, I've talked to Torrance a few times, and a number of people that live around there. So they've been questioning, when will it be ready? But as you heard tonight, he's taking the bids, so
Yeah.
they're not in yet.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
Sure.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Monica Burke, and I don't live in Merrillville. I actually live in Gary, but I'm here with the animal group. And I volunteer my time with the Gary Animal Control and the Gary, Indiana Miller Beach Humane Society. And I'm apprised of the whole situation with the animals for a long time, and Merrillville was working with Gary. And Gary's building has been condemned for over 15 years, and they need a new facility as well. And if you guys are all gonna work together, hopefully, why wouldn't you guys put a building together since you guys have worked together for so long? You guys have no building and they need a new building. And then, two towns are working to, help the animals. Isn't that what our goal is? Is to ultimately help the animals? I mean, neither one of the towns is doing a very good job. And in their facilities in deplorable conditions on 9th and Madison, and it's scary to even go down there. So, and you're the chief of police, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
So how come you guys how come everyone's not working together as the two towns to get new facilities for both of you guys and put it in, on the border of Merrillville and Gary, so that people can come, because they don't adopt pets out of there either? And why isn't the community able to come and see what everybody's doing and able to adopt pets through Merrillville or through Gary?
So we've been working kind of with Gary, we've been helping him out where we can, we've been helping each other out. This is kind of a difficult situation right now, and even after the phone calls that I've made, because I've been making phone calls and I've been trying to make arrangements for the past couple of weeks before any of this was even an issue. One of the things that we are encountering is people are seeing dogs dumped at record numbers like never before.
Oh, yeah, that's a huge issue.
It's never happened before. There's a huge issue with people being evicted out of their homes. They don't have anywhere to go. They have to make a decision. People are just tying their dogs and leaving them somewhere.
Yeah?
One of the biggest issues that we do encounter, that I can say that we encounter, is funding. The funding that comes into this town is very little.
But where's all the tax revenue going?
I wouldn't.
You guys have one of the highest tax revenue bases in Lake County.
I'm going to tell you that our general
We're
fund
actually
is
one of
not
the lowest.
nearly as high as what you might think it is.
But you guys get more tax money than Gary gets.
No, we
That's
don't.
not true.
No, we don't.
That's not
Not
true.
even close.
Not even close.
Not even close.
No?
Nope.
No, not even close.
We're a town, not a city.
We have the third lowest tax rate in Lake County.
Right.
We got 8 million in our ARP, they got 90 million.
Speak up, Joe.
Yeah, on the ARP funding alone, I think we got 8 million in the town, City of Gary got 90 million.
Well, see, and that's a whole separate issue with them because they misappropriate money like crazy. And I've been on them for years.
Well, again, we're going to look at all avenues and investigate every possibility for us. There's no answer to why haven't we done that. We just haven't yet, but we're going to look into
But
everything.
was the council aware of all these issues that have been taking place for all these years and all the negative complaints? Or were they just not aware at all?
I don't know what the council was aware of. We were aware of this last dog, which caused an uproar, and we said that's enough, and that's why we made some changes and made some moves. So you should all, like I said earlier, be happy it's getting attention now. Let us have a chance to work on it with your help. So what happened in the past is done. We're not going to dwell on that. That's over. Chief Newses has taken over the program. We've given him all authority to do so, and we'll move
And
forward.
now,
Let's
like,
move
when
forward
they-
together.
When they do have a new animal control officer, or they have more than one animal control officers instead of just having one, are they going to be trained like a regular police officer, like the city of Gary? Where
I
you
can't
know,
answer that.
where they write tickets, where they're allowed to arrest
we
people
don't-
for animal cruelty
Right.
and animal neglect and animal abuse and so forth? Or are they gonna be doing like what they did before, where they have to call the police and not be able to issue tickets and everything else? Because what's the purpose then?
Just that we're relooking at this and we're gonna revamp everything. It's time for overhaul.
Yeah.
That's what we're gonna do.
Okay, I was just curious. Thank you.
You bet, thank you.
Mr. President, one question real quick.
Jeff, yep.
The lady from the talk rescue, I'm sorry, I can't talk. Would you mind seeing me after me? I got a couple questions for you. Thank you.
Hello, Shonda Flowers, 6137 Connecticut Street, Merrillville. Question, just trying to get clarification with regards to the couple of ordinances. The ordinance with regards to enforcing how many animals that you can have, if there's no longer a code enforcer, or excuse me, if there's no longer animal control, is there a phone number or a particular protocol that someone would follow with regards to complaints? Do we have a phone number? Is it just a non-emergency phone number for the police?
As of right now, you can probably call just call the police department on the regular number, and then we'll make sure that we send the appropriate person out.
Okay. The ordinance regarding mailboxes, because I have this issue occasionally, especially on weekends. On weekends, how do I go about reporting a car that's in front and blocking or preventing me from receiving mail? Do I need to get pictures? What do I need to do in order? Because how is that going to be enforced if I'm having that problem, especially on the weekends especially?
During the weekdays, it's gonna be code enforcement, but on the weekends or holidays or when code enforcement is not out, you can call the police department. We'll take care of that as well.
Okay, and then my last comment that I'd like to make, and this is with all due respect, I have a dog myself, but it is often said that sometimes the animal can cause more of an uproar than human rights. My question to the council is with regards to hot topic subjects that have come up in the past, not focusing on them, but I want to see a consistency with regards to time. When there are often hot topic subjects or uncomfortable subjects that have been brought up in the past, there was a strict guideline with regards to the clock of 3 minutes. And it was set up in the front for people to know at one point that you had 3 minutes to speak and that's it. Is there something with regards to regulating what that consistency looks like? Whether it's topics you may like, you may want to hear, and may not, but what is the consistency that we can do moving forward? Is there anything, or is that something we should table to talk about?
We'll talk about it. It's public comment. It's not, we'll talk about it.
Okay, thank you.
You see the clock is gone, so.
I know, but it's Attorney Fentanyl, he's doing a very good job of keeping 3 minutes when it was topics that were not comfortable. And I know specifically, especially when we were talking about diversity.
Any other public comment tonight? Seeing none. Announcements, town offices will be closed on February 20th in observance of President's Day. Plan Commission meeting is February 21st at 6:30. Black History Celebration. Ladies, I was quiet when you talked. The Black History Celebration dinner was talked about this evening. It's February 23rd from 5 to 9. And the Redevelopment Commission meeting is February 28th at 6:15. And our next town council meeting is February 28th at 6:30. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor? Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you all.
Hey, Steve-O.
Oh, boy.
Hang on a second.